When I heard about Elden Ring the first time, I was very excited, Ludwig,
Mm-hmm.
um, because uh, it made me uh, hopeful about the fact that From Software was not just gonna keep doing Dark Souls over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the third one, it was okay, but uh, it started to get a bit, how do you say? You know what I mean, right? Like
Like,
samey
yeah, yeah.
or whatever. Like uninspired, I guess is the word, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like very polished, but very uninspired compared to the other games. So at first I was very excited. Um, but the more and more I heard about Elden Ring, I actually got more and more worried. Um, because they started to talk about all these, open world and,
Ooh.
they showed this map and all of this stuff, right? And it started to sound like sort of, Dark Souls slash Skyrim or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was very worried. I was actually so worried uh, that I actually didn't end up buying the game when it came out,
Mm-hmm.
uh, which is very unusual for From Software games because I usually buy them on release. Which like it's do I buy like I don't know if I'm thinking of like AAA games I bought on release. It's not many, right?
Yeah, no, like none at all.
Yeah, but FromSoft is like
The exception.
For a while there, I was like, I trust these guys,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe I should have trusted them here as well, but I decided to wait a bit. Um, I don't remember how long exactly. Maybe it was a half a year or something, right? With all the sales and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
it's I don't even know if I bought it on a sale. It doesn't matter. The point is, uh, when I did actually play it, uh, there's a lot of things to break down, I guess, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, it was very, how should I say? Still had their DNA left, right? That's one my point,
Yeah.
right? You could still tell that it was a From Software game, but this open world structure just like at every point, right? When you had to deal with that, just words like it made the experience worse at every step, basically, right?
Yeah.
Uh, because and you can tell, like, I don't know what order we want to talk about this in, right? But like, you can tell, for example, that they have these dungeons or whatever you want to call them, which is like mini areas, which is sort of more similar to the old structure. But then you have the open world where you move around, right? And it's all this, empty space that does
Yeah.
basically nothing. Um,
I actually maybe we could start, or unless you have something more
no, go
important to
ahead.
say, but maybe I could start by asking like a question because you've played a lot of Souls
Uh
games,
huh.
like all of them, I assume, and Elden Ring and stuff. I've only played Sekiro and Dark Souls,
Yeah.
and I actually haven't played Elden Ring,
Yeah.
so I'm not the guy to talk about this game. But luckily, I have Edward here today. So my question is, um, like, would you say that Elden Ring, like, because Dark Souls, the first one has like a pretty interesting, like, what do you want to call it, like level design, where it's like
Yes.
it like loops back onto itself into the central area, and then you
Yes.
like go out and stuff like that. Does Elden Ring still have that, or is it just like Ubisoft open world basically?
So that's the depressing part, right? It
Mm-hmm.
does. It does
Okay.
have a lot of interesting stuff, but it would be more interesting if it was, contained in a smaller map.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually one of the points I wanted to bring up at some point, right? Where if we're talking like open world games in general, are kind of meh, in my opinion. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not the fact that the world is open; it's just when it's big and
Yeah,
open
it's the
and
size.
yeah, and because you could argue Dark Souls is an open world game, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's just a small open world, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but there is so much, interesting stuff going on. Like, for example, you remember the episode where we talked about intrinsic versus extrinsic rewards.
Mm-hmm.
So like one thing that I remember this moment. It's gonna be a super tiny spoiler, but I think you're fine with it, right?
Yeah.
You walk around in the open world, right? You get to a forest, and then you walk into the forest, and there's a tiny, and I mean tiny, little like stone building,
Mm-hmm.
and you walk into it, and there's an elevator, and you're like, this elevator is probably gonna go down like 5 feet, and there's gonna be a chest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you step on that elevator, and it goes down, and it keeps going, and it keeps going, and it keeps going, and it keeps going, and until it opens up into this huge new area, right? That you have, like, the game didn't tell you anything about. It's just an area here,
Mm-hmm.
underground. And that was like things like that, you know, with the like the way
Ubisoft
rewards, right?
stuff does.
Yeah. Like that's what you want out of an open world, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just that I don't know, the structure doesn't work for that game, or something. Or maybe I just don't like it. I don't know. It's just it would be because there's so much good stuff in Elden Ring, but you can't play it because it's like 50 hours long or something. I mean, they did a pretty good job to make it like if you want to just take the shortest path,
Mm-hmm.
you can go pretty fast. Like if we're speaking about like big maps, like the map looks really big, but it's actually not the biggest like open world at all, right? It's quite tiny. What were you gonna say, by the way?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, about the size of the map, because I have an indication of if a game is the bad kind of open world or not, and it's not 100% true, because there are bad open worlds that don't like what do you call it, like that don't have this mechanic or whatever you want to call it, but all bad open world games do, and that's a horse, and I know Elden Ring has a horse.
Yep.
What do you have to say about that?
So I agree. I think
You agree.
Yeah.
So would you say that it's like, like moving around the world in Elden Ring is like moving around the world in like Red Dead Redemption 2 or something?
For sure. But
okay, yeah.
the good thing about Elden Ring is if you know where you're going, you can get there kind of fast because the map is not unnecessarily huge.
Okay, yeah.
As in getting from A to B or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But it's still annoying. And I think, honestly, they wanted to do more with the horse, like horse combat and stuff, but I think they gave up on it because they couldn't figure it out. Because there's a lot of remnants in the game about like doing more stuff on the horse, right? But you like, because you can do like swing to the sides and stuff, it's kind of interesting, but it's like very underdeveloped or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But like when you're walking around in the open world, like you say, you're on a horse. You don't need to like care about anything, right? It's just there. You just go pick up flowers or whatever, right?
Yeah, because sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, because I feel like, as soon as I see a horse, that just like rings all the warning bells, right? Because then it's the thing about, let me think of a good open world game. Well, let's take Dark Souls as an example, right? Because it's kind of open world, as you said. It's like you're always like in gameplay, I guess, is the thing. Like
yes,
there is downtime, I guess, because you're not always in combat.
Yeah.
But like you're like moving around the world, you're traversing the world, and you're encountering enemies every now and then, and there's like gameplay. The problem with when you like add a horse to it in the style of like The Witcher or Red Dead or whatever, it's like then the quest markers become like an oasis of gameplay, and then you use the horse to traverse the desert between them, and it's always so goddamn boring. And like, yeah, and anyone who thinks about adding a horse to a non-horse related game is wrong. What were you gonna say?
No, like on your point there, like the open world is like if it was a different game, like okay, how should I say this? Like you can tell that the designers are really fucking good at their job. Because like I said, with the elevator and the like, all the areas are built with this like extrinsic mindset, right? Where it's like, oh, like how do I get up there? I wonder what's there. And it's always like, it's not like, oh, I mean, sometimes there's something boring, right? But you know what I mean? It's like, it's very like interesting in that way, how it's structured, right? And where they play stuff. Like they're really, really, really good at the uh, level design thing where you place like the point of interest in a good spot or whatever, right? So you're like, oh, it makes it clear that you're supposed to go there or whatever. You know what I mean, right? Like see, I don't know, sign post. I don't know what you call it, sign signaling. I don't know.
I get what you mean. Like, yeah.
Yeah, but like the fact that it's so long and like even if you the that's one of the annoying parts, right? Even if you remove the open world, the game is still a bit too long, I think. Like there's just too much. People maybe people think I sound crazy, right? But there's some content in there that's like, okay, you could have cut this, right? It's like it doesn't.
Well,
much.
Doesn't it have like you mentioned the dungeons? Aren't like some of those dungeons?
Oh yeah, no,
aren't they, like, reusing stuff?
they are terrible. Like they are
yeah,
super boring. They're just, you just walk down there and there's like a boss. Sometimes the boss is a little bit interesting, but the thing is they reuse the bosses in those dungeons in like 15 dungeons. So like you're bored by that boss by the time you've like explored, you know. You get what I'm saying, right? Yeah. So that part sucks. But even like some of the main bosses are like, okay, you could have like changed this a bit maybe. But it's mostly fine, right? Like, and again, I'm not saying it's like bad. It's just if we compare it to Dark Souls, for example, if we take something like Underberg in Dark Souls, that area is so like it's the perfect example of what you said with like structure, where it's like you go. It's like, if you don't know, it's the first area, right, with the undead settlement thing, right? Like it's so interconnected and all the paths go to other places and back, and then everything like, you know, winds back into the main area, and you can see, like if you look you can see all the places from the other places, and it's like super well designed. Yeah. And like one thing I wanted to bring up, which is really interesting to me, is that most people that talk about Elden Ring in a bad way. So first of all, most people think this open world is good, right? They love oh, it's so nice, I can just go everywhere and whatever, right? But for me, that's not nice, because like I think I played most of the Souls games at least like 5 to 10 times, right? And I've only played Elden Ring once because it takes too long. It sucks, right? That is long, right? I'm not saying the content in it sucks. But then there are people that complain about it. And maybe there are some that complain about the world, sure, right? But most of them, I feel like, are complaining about something that I find really interesting that I actually completely disagree with, which is they'll say stuff like, "Oh, I've played all the Souls games, but this game is overtuned or whatever," right?
Yeah.
Like it's too unfair or something, right? And and I actually disagree. I think the bosses are actually really well designed, most of them. Like they're really, really well designed. They've sort of combined like what they learned in Sekiro. Like it has like some elements from how Sekiro combat works combined with Dark Souls combat, basically. With like you can play around the sort of right around the like you know, you have the like parry bar and stamina and stuff in Sekiro. That it you have a sort of hidden similar system in Elden Ring. I mean, it's the same as or similar as they used in Dark Souls, but it's more, what's the word, like prevalent or whatever. Like it's more like if you play around it, you can get a lot of damage in or whatever. And but there's a lot of playstyles you can play in Elden Ring. But my point is that the bosses, they are not an issue to me. Like they're very interesting. Like let's say the early bosses, for example, right? They have a lot of like the first boss. What's his name? Margit, I think. Where he's got like a lot of attacks that punish you, and people get very frustrated about that. But I think that's really interesting because it's sort of this thing where, you know, in Dark Souls, right? All the bosses are very what's the word? I don't want to say telegraphed, but you know, they swing and you know where your opening is. And Elden Ring is sort of like the designers realize that people are learning that they can just look for these openings, and so they're placing a lot of like baits and moving the openings into like, for example, you know, they like a common example people bring up is like, oh, the guy is holding his weapon for like 5 seconds before he slams it or whatever, right? And that people complain about that because that's unnatural or whatever. But the thing is, that in itself is an opening, right? Because he's holding his weapon for so long. So it's like the designers are like, you know, baiting the player to like think about these openings in the wrong way, right?
Okay.
And I think that's really interesting.
I how do you say this? Like, I don't agree with them at all. But I definitely understand why people like react that way in a way. Like, not I'm sounding like I'm giving them credit, which I'm not. Like, I'm completely disagreeing with them. But like, I think it makes sense that people think that way because like they're used to Dark Souls and stuff, so they want it to be like exactly like Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Which, you know, as you said, it's like, well, you know, they made 3 Dark Souls games. Now they're making Elden Ring. Let it be a little bit different, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, even Demon Souls and Bloodborne or whatever are more similar to the old style or whatever, I guess. But they moved a bit.
Oh, is Bloodborne more similar to Dark Souls than Elden Ring?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Because I thought Elden Ring was like of the spin-offs, that was the most close to Dark Souls.
Say that again. Elden Ring is the closest to Dark Souls?
Yeah, I was under the impression that Elden Ring was the closest one to Dark Souls out of all the non-Dark Souls FromSoft games.
I don't think so. Maybe someone will disagree about that. The thing, like, Dark Souls 3 is very similar to Bloodborne. Like, so their style has developed, right? So Demon Souls, what people usually refer to as Dark Souls beta, which I completely disagree with, by the way. Demon Souls is amazing. I think Demon Souls is better than Dark Souls. There is good, like, some stuff is better in Dark Souls, but like Demon Souls as a game, it's super amazing. The original one on PlayStation 3, I mean. What was my point? Yes, and Dark Souls is very similar to that, right? And then Dark Souls 2 is very different from all of them because I guess they were trying to go for another angle or something, right? It's a different engine, I think, or like partly a different engine. It feels very different, and people hate it because it feels very different, which, again, I disagree with because actually I find Dark Souls 2 more interesting than some of the other games because it's different, right? Because when you move on to Dark Souls, I mean, Bloodborne came before, right? So Dark Souls 2 and Bloodborne came at about the same time, right? And then Bloodborne is like the refined version of Dark Souls 1 combat, right? So it's, or refined is not the right word, but you know, it's like faster and less clunky, right? They remove like some of the wonky stuff in Dark Souls
more
1.
Modern, I guess.
Yeah. But not only modern, it's other stuff as well, right? In like how it feels or whatever. Like some of the like rough edges on some of the how stuff interacts or whatever. I don't know how to. Yeah, I guess modern is. You're right in a way. It's sort of like the modern
or
stuff.
more in fashion, I guess, is what we usually say.
Yeah, it's sort of like that. And then Dark Souls 3 is just Bloodborne, but with some Dark Souls added back in. So Dark Souls 3 feels a lot like Bloodborne. But it feels way less inspired, right? It's super, I don't know, bland. I don't know if that's the right word, right? But it's like nothing, like in Dark Souls 3, basically nothing is bad, but it's just nothing is good. So I just don't like, I don't hate Dark Souls 3, but it's the one I find myself going back to the least because it's just not doing anything, you know. What do you say? Like, you get what I'm saying, right? Yeah, it's just
bland.
Yeah, it's just. Yeah. And like they've figured out that the best kind of boss is the small humanoid side, you know. So there's no like interesting. Even if yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, sorry, go ahead, and then I can ask a question.
I was just gonna say that even though a lot of these gimmicky bosses are not that good in the older games, it's still nice for pacing to not have every single boss be like, human sized. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, going back to the bosses. One of my favorite bosses, or well, two, I guess, of my favorite bosses from Dark Souls, is the like gargoyle roof fight
Yeah.
thing. And the reason that I love it so much is, you're like having this fight against this gargoyle guy, because there's only one gargoyle first. It is a gargoyle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like you die a few times because you're bad at the game, and then you like start learning, and then you're like, okay, I get it now. And then like halfway through the fight, the second gargoyle shows up,
Yeah.
and like all of a sudden you have to juggle two gargoyles at the same time. And like what I find really nice about that boss fight is that it like adds a layer of like strategy and unreactability, I guess, because as you said, boss fights in Dark Souls are generally very, very telegraphed. So like once you know the pattern, it's kind of easy.
Yeah.
But like that sort of thing, adding a second boss that you need to juggle at the same time means that you can't just rely on memorizing the pattern. You need to also like have good game sense and good fundamentals, I guess.
Yeah.
Would you say that the bosses are going more in that direction, or like
No.
yeah, so that's like
but the
what
thing
I would
is,
assume.
they are not doing it wrong in terms of, like, if we're going back to
Mhm.
Elden Ring, there is like some multi bosses that have multiple bosses, and they suffer a bit. You could argue it's a bit of a skill issue, right? But still, I think they suffer a bit because in Dark Souls, like you said, bosses' moves are very like simple and telegraphed. It's like, oh, I'm a gargoyle, I slam my axe, I swing my tail, right? So it's very like you can figure out what the other gargoyle is gonna do, or like bait them into doing a particular move or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But in Elden Ring, because the AI and the moveset is way more complex, the multi bosses, especially one in particular, it's like Godskin Duo, I think it's called, right? It's supposed to be like an homage or whatever to a boss in Dark Souls 1, but it doesn't work at all because their moveset is like very complicated, right? They have a lot of weird moves, so it becomes very, it becomes this thing where you just run away and hide behind the pillars or whatever. I mean, in a way, you could argue that it's just a skill issue, right? And if I just learned their moves, it would work. But it's like, you get what I'm saying, right? It's not because if you have two enemies, it's interesting if their movesets are simple because it's how their movesets overlap, right? That you have to deal with. But if their moveset is very complex, you can't abuse their moveset in the same way because it's less clear what they're gonna do next. It might even be completely unclear, right? Because they have so many moves. They might, I don't know if they like randomize the moves or if it's completely static. I don't know, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, you meet those bosses alone first, and then it's like, okay, these bosses are kind of interesting. But then you meet them together, and it's like, this is a bit like, I don't know. Maybe
I mean, it sounds kind of nice. Maybe I'll have to play Elden Ring now.
I mean, you should probably play Elden Ring, honestly.
Yeah, I probably should.
It's not too bad. Although you should play through the Souls games as well, especially Demon Souls.
Yeah, I should.
Demon Souls is very nice. What was I saying about the bosses? Yeah, so their movesets, right? They're your question, right? Your question: do they move more in the like two people direction? See, that's the thing that Dark Souls 2 did, right? And everyone hated it. Maybe not.
Well, I'm not necessarily only thinking of like two people at the same time. I'm more thinking of like, reactability versus unreactability, I guess. Is it like, or like?
I mean, I think in Dark Souls defense, right? Because of defense, I don't know what you have a dodge roll, right? So you're almost never in a situation where you like if you just want to read, right? You're just reading the boss and spamming roll, then you can do that, right? Is I don't know. It feels like that to me at least, right? Whereas, but the problem is when you start attacking, right? You need to time it with your attacks and stuff, and then it gets a bit more complicated.
Yeah, and I think that's the part I like with like the gargoyle multi-boss thing, that like actually getting an opening to attack requires like good positioning and like some planning ahead, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like you want to kite them into a certain position so that the second gargoyle can't hit you while you're hitting the first gargoyle,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah. And I mean, they try. I think they sort of try to do that within the moveset itself more than
on.
Elden Ring, right?
Okay.
Like, yeah. There's a lot of like, so, there's so many like in tiny. I guess we can be a bit go into details, right? So you'll have the
Yeah.
long wind ups where they like hold their weapon or whatever. So it's like they're gonna hold their weapon 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they're just gonna slam. Or maybe they have this like one thing they really like in Elden Ring, and in the later games as well, but really really like in Elden Ring is these like combos that are varying in length depending on what you do, right? So you'll have like a three attack combo, bam, bam, bam. But then like depending on if you're actually trying to attack, they'll continue it to a 5 combo, right?
Okay.
Or they'll stop after 3, right? If you don't attack and stuff like that, right? So you need to learn that as well. So there's like a lot of layers to, you know, memorize in quotation marks their path, like their moveset, right? Yeah.
That sounds a bit interesting.
Yeah, like the bosses are interesting. It's just like one issue is that the I mean you can play it just hitting them, but if you wanna play around the like stagger bar, which is like the Sekiro thing, that's hidden. So like you need to sort of know like it drops fast, right? You know, it works like Sekiro, right? Where you if you do heavy or strong attacks, you build up this like stagger bar, and that drops when you don't deal damage after a while, right? So you need to keep hitting them. So you need to be very aggressive, which is interesting, right? Because then it's like you need to play risky, and then if you go over a threshold, you stagger them, and then you can do like a powerful attack that takes a bit of their health, right? Yeah, I that's the way I played in the like gameplay. So like the viewers will see what I mean, right? Where you like, so you could play differently. Like you could just use the light attacks and just attack them, or use magic or whatever, right? But one way to play is that you play around the staggers, right? Which is, I think, the most interesting way. But I'm not gonna like. I think it's fine that there are multiple ways, right, to play it. But the boss moves, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. But again, the game is too long, way too long. I don't know why they wanted to go for this open world structure. Maybe they just like it. I mean, it obviously worked in terms of commercial stuff.
Yeah, I was about to say that. I think, you know, because we're criticizing Elden Ring quite a bit here, and like I feel like it's worth to clarify that like this is from a game design perspective, right? Because from a mass appeal perspective, making it open world, I think, was a pretty good move. Like open world games are pretty popular, and they are like mass appeal popular.
Yeah, I just don't like, considering the skill of the level designers, especially at FromSoft. I don't see why they would want. Maybe they just wanted to try it or something. But I feel like, again, like we talked about with the like Undead Burg and stuff. And sure, the levels are less. I think because the team grew, right? Some of the level structure in terms of like at least the interconnectivity, but that's not necessarily important. It's just a bit interesting, right? But the interconnectivity definitely dropped in the later games, right?
Yeah.
Because they need to. What do you say? But like they need to work together. what do you call it?
Yeah.
Like the different teams or whatever, right? You can tell there's multiple teams working on like different areas in the later games.
Yeah.
Whereas I think in the earlier, maybe like some of them were obviously, but not all of them. And again, like I said, some of the later stuff, I didn't say that, but like some of the later stuff is also, I mean, in general, they like the later parts of their games suffer, right? And Elden Ring is no exception. I think like the final boss is not that interesting, for example, and like some of the final areas are fine, but like a lot of the non-optional late game bosses are not that interesting. So like the optional stuff, like the real optional bosses, not the like mini dungeon bosses, they're super cool. Like what's his name, like Moog and that lady that everyone complains about. What's her name? Malenia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even I have heard of her, and I've never played the game.
Yeah, and like that's also interesting because I think that's the main like overtuned or whatever. But she's like super balanced. Do you know how she works?
I think I've seen you play against her, but I don't remember.
Yeah, so she actually doesn't have a lot of health. She just deals a lot of damage, and she has like lifesteal. So basically, and you can stagger her easily. Like she flinches easily, right? If you hit her. So the it's basically a what do you say, healing mitigation thing, right? And I think that's why people maybe don't like it as much, right? Because they can't spam healing and survive, because that gives her health back, right?
Yeah.
They need to actually
like be good at the game.
Yeah. I mean, you can heal, right? But she got health from hitting you, right? So
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
That's actually one thing I wanted to like ask about as well, because when the DLC came out, Shadow of the Earth 3.
Yeah, so I have not played the DLC yet, to be clear. But
Okay.
What are we gonna say?
Well, okay, then maybe you don't know the answer to this question. But like, I found it very interesting because like, obviously Elden Ring is a hard game and it doesn't have an easy mode and all that.
Yeah.
And like, if you've listened to our previous podcast, you know we approve. But like, and you know, when Elden Ring came out, there was a discussion about difficulty and whatever. But anyways, when Shadow of the Earth 3 came out, you know, you talked about the people calling the game overtuned.
Yeah, they
it
came
seemed
back.
like yeah, but it seems like they came back in like greater strength.
No, I just
know,
think
because
it was the Elden Ring, like the newbies that played Elden Ring. They started complaining instead. So it wasn't the old guys; it was the new players.
Yeah,
because they had learned Elden Ring, and then they were disappointed when they couldn't one-shot all the bosses in the DLC.
Yeah, because it feels like you know, reviewers gave Elden Ring very good scores.
Yeah, which is surprising.
But then but then they didn't give the DLC as good scores, and like one of the reasons for that was, well, I at least a few I think. Like a few big ones complained that like, oh yeah, this is too hard or this is overtuned. And I feel
really?
like
your reviewers did. Interesting.
Yeah, I think I read at least 1 or 2 reviews.
Yeah, I did read the reviews.
It's not like they didn't say it was a bad DLC, but they said like, you know, oh, it's good, but one of the bad sides is that it's too hard or whatever.
Yeah.
And I find that like really funny criticism, because like it doesn't really mean anything.
No, not at all.
Which
I also respect the decision. Like, I've seen some of the bosses. I like respect the decision by From Software, that they're like, no, this is the like DLC. This is the, you really like the game, you're gonna, you know, right? Yeah. It's the hardcore content. Here you go, right? Yeah, I think it's very cool of them to do that, and it's, I guess it gives me hope for their future or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they'll make it cooler. What were we gonna say?
Yeah, so like I just think it's not anything about Elden Ring actually. It's more like in defense of Elden Ring or whatever. But you know, saying that a game is too hard doesn't really say much. No. So I felt like it was so funny that when that DLC came out, everyone was like, "Oh yeah, the DLC is too hard." But like, what do they mean? Do they mean that like, I don't know, the timings for the parries are too short or whatever? I don't know. Then say that, because like it's too hard doesn't really mean anything. Like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just.
I mean, the bosses have a lot of health and they kill you fast, I guess, either. So, but I mean,
but like that's sort of my point. They didn't criticize the game for having tanky bosses. Yeah. They criticized the game for being too hard, which is like, I don't know. It just feels like a weird complaint.
There was also this mechanic added where you had to like find stuff to not like to. They wanted you to explore, so they added this weird thing that like sort of scales your damage or something. So like if you didn't know that, it was very like unbalanced or whatever. Yeah. So that could be part of it as well. I don't know.
Well, that actually brings me to another thing I wanted to ask about Elden Ring, because like Elden Ring is like Dark Souls is very popular, but Elden Ring is a bit more popular, I would say.
Very bit more.
Yes. And one of the thing about Dark Souls that like annoys me a little bit when playing it is that it doesn't really explain much. Like not in the tutorial sense. I mean like if you actually want to know what like stats do, for example.
Yeah, no, it's
There's
very
like
Japanese in that way. They
yeah, like
don't do
there's
that.
exactly. Does Elden Ring do that
No,
better?
no,
No. Okay, so
no. In fact,
it's still like
they
okay,
added those obnoxious Sekiro pop-ups. I don't know if
which
you
ones?
remember them. It's like
No, I don't.
when you start the game, every like 5 seconds, there's like a screen that
Oh,
pops
there's
up
like
and
a
like,
tutorial screen.
Here's how you jump or something. And
Okay,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
So they added that, which, by the way, pauses the game, which is really interesting because you can't pause the game otherwise. Like,
Nice.
if you press the pause button, it doesn't pause, right? That's one of the things
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people complain about with Souls, right? Because they're like,
Yeah.
oh, I need to do something, so I need to pause the game. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, just die and do it again. It's not that
Yeah.
big of a deal. Like, you have to run for maximum of like 5 minutes or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's another good point to talk about actually. But because even though the game is huge, right, there is not a lot of boss runbacks. They've decided for some reason that, I mean, it's not for some reason, it makes sense, but they didn't see any value in the boss runbacks, so they've added these statues next to most bosses that just spawns you there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a true like bonfire grace or whatever you want to call it. It's just a thing so you can just there's the fog gate and go in again.
Yeah.
So there's no boss runbacks, and I think that's kind of lame, honestly, because if you go back, like a lot, I see why people didn't like it because a lot of them are not that good, especially in the more open games. But in Demon Souls, for example, the boss runback was very much a part of what,
Yeah, because
like
didn't you like restart from the start
yeah,
of the area?
there was no
Basically?
checkpoints in the area. It was linear areas,
Mhm.
right? I mean, some of them had shortcuts, but like the area was in general very linear, and you just got from the start to the end, and that was like part of the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, I mean, we talked about that when we talked about Silk Song and other stuff, right? Where it's like it's
Yeah.
interesting when you have that
Yeah.
dynamic. You don't need it in all. Like some bosses can be like, look, this boss is really hard, and it's just a boss, right? But
Yeah.
then some other thing is like, oh, this boss is not that hard, but you have to go through the entire area again or something. I think that's interesting for the variety, right?
Yeah, I think. Silk Song is actually a pretty fun example because it has the swamp area, right?
Yeah.
Which because usually the runbacks aren't bad in Silk Song. Like people complain about the runbacks, but they're wrong. Like they're like 30 seconds at most in most cases. So it's not a big deal at all. But the like swamp area boss, there's a secret bench that you can find that's closer to the boss. But like if you don't find the secret bench, you basically go from the start of the area to the boss.
Yeah.
And that runback is pretty long. And I think I mentioned it in like in a previous video when we discussed Silsong. Like that whole swamp area is like intentionally annoying, right? So like all of the enemies are super annoying. They like jump up and like attack really quickly and then they like run away. And you know, if you fall into the water, you need to consume a healing charge to like heal again.
Yeah.
So like falling into the water is like really bad. And all of this stuff that makes the area annoying. But anyways, the point I wanted to get to was that the boss in that area, I think is called like Roll the Great or something. It's a big frog.
Mm-hmm.
He's not one of the harder bosses in the game. He's like pretty easy actually. But the thing is that he was like one of the bosses I struggled the most with because like the pressure I placed on myself to beat the boss because of the long run back was like so insane that I kept like throwing completely all the time.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, I really need to get this boss now because I can't bother with the run back. And then I die and I'm like, fuck no. And then I like do it again and I'm like, okay, this time I'm gonna get him because I'm not gonna do this run back one more time. And then I like keep doing that 50 times until I finally get him. And like when I actually got the boss, I was like, oh, he wasn't actually that hard. I just like needed not to throw completely.
Yeah, that's basically all of Demon Souls.
Mm-hmm.
There is not like almost maybe one or two hard bosses in that game.
Yeah.
But all of them have runbacks.
Yeah.
And they also have more interesting runbacks in Demon Souls because Demon Souls is very linear, right? It's like level based almost. So there's actually, because you play Dark Souls, right? Some of them is like,
Yep.
okay, I need to run from here to there, and it's like not actually that dangerous. It's just
Yeah.
annoying.
You can just run past it.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess you could argue some of the ones in Demon's Souls are like that, but it's still like you could die, I feel like, in most of them if you didn't like try at all.
Yeah.
Because it's like narrow corridors and stuff. And also one thing that I guess they started in Bloodborne, but they've like way overdone it in Elden Ring and in Dark Souls 3, I guess. But still, like they did it even worse in Elden Ring. Is the like multi-stage boss fight. I don't know why they love that so much. It's I guess that is part of the like the how do I should say it? Like they don't have the runbacks, right? So they're trying to bring that pressure back by having like a longer boss fight with 2 parts. So they're giving you the pressure of the second part by the first part or whatever, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the first part is easier and the second part is harder, usually, right? Not always. But especially in Elden Ring, some of them are so not the same boss that it's like ridiculous to me. What's his name? Like Malikath. I don't remember what his first phase is, but it's like this. The first phase is like very grounded. He's like walking on all four and like throwing rocks at you. And then the second phase is like jumping in the air, spinning and throwing flames all over the map. And it's like, I kind of see what they're trying to go for there, but it doesn't work for me because it's like you get the whiplash sort of, right? When it's like, you get what I'm saying, right? Where it's like you do the first part very like in one way, and then the second part starts and it's like just kills you instantly because you're not, I guess it sounds more interesting than it is. Maybe, I don't know. Like there's a bunch of stuff in that that's like it limits your like health and stuff. It's, I don't know. It didn't work for me.
Yeah.
And I think it would have been more interesting if they like developed maybe the second part into a longer fight, right, or something, instead of trying to do this thing with 2 parts.
Yeah, I think Silksong does that pretty well. Speaking of Silksong, because like I don't know if all bosses have like second stages, but like many of them do, and usually they are, I think always. I actually haven't defeated all of the optional bosses and stuff, but from what I remember, they were basically like more intense versions of the like original phase or whatever you want to call them.
That's the way I think you should do it.
Yeah, and like some of those bosses are really interesting.
And I mean some of them are like similar, I guess. So like Malenia's second phase is like maybe not the exact same, but it's like it's sort of similar, right? And that kind of works. There's this like poison thing there, and there's more of it in the second phase or something, right? There's stuff like that, and I think that's cool. Although speaking of Malenia, actually, there is one thing that is a bit silly with her, which is she has a move that is basically undodgeable. But I mean, you just learn that and deal with it. I mean, you like if you ask someone, they're gonna be like, "Oh, actually, you can." Well, yeah, actually, you can, but it's like you like misdirect it or like I don't know. It's a bit silly. But I don't know. It's kind of interesting as well because it's like you need to deal with that, so you can't like. In a way, it's like it's not undodgeable necessarily, right? It's sort of the thing we talked about with reactable stuff, right? It's that kind of thing. It's actually like it's true unreactable, like it's a true unreactable move in a Souls game, right? Which is very, very, very uncommon. So it's like, no, you were standing too close to her when her AI decided to do this move. You are gonna take damage, right?
Oh, okay. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean there is technically a way to like if you like move in a certain way to like misdirect the attack, but it's like super specific and hard to do, right? Okay. So you can technically do it, but it's like not intended, right? I think because it's like you're making the move go the wrong way by like moving around hers. So yeah, but yeah, so that's actually quite interesting. I haven't thought about it before, and that makes sense why people don't like that move as much.
Yeah.
I don't mind it that much. It's obviously annoying, but I mean that's intentional,
That's
right?
the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I already mentioned the final boss. Final boss is not nice at all.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say other than that the game is like such a step down. I guess we can talk a bit more about From Software.
Hmm.
Uh, so after Elden Ring, now people are a bit worried, I think, because they made this like PvE like grind
Yeah,
game.
it looked really weird.
No, it looked really bad, is my opinion.
Yeah.
But and now they're gonna make a PvPvE game for the Nintendo Switch,
Hmm.
which is like even worse, I think. At least for me, like
Yeah.
the extraction shooter Souls game.
Oh, it's an extraction game?
I'm pretty sure it is because it's
Oh,
like a
okay.
PvPvE game, so I don't know what else it
Yeah,
would be.
yeah. I only heard that it was PvPvE,
Yeah,
but
I
yeah,
think it
that sounds
is
pretty
with
bad.
Souls combat. Yeah.
Okay.
But at the same time, listening. So these games are obviously terrible in my opinion. But
Hmm.
listening to the interviews with the director Miyazaki, right? It sounds like he is doing smart stuff, right? So what it sounded like to me is that what they're doing now after Elden Ring is like he said it in a way nicer way, but what he basically said is, look, the studio grow. There's a bunch of noobs in here. We need to get them to make some games so that they're not noobs anymore, and then we can make a big game again, right?
Yeah.
And if that's true, that's really nice because that means these games they're doing now, they're basically practice games, right? And they're like trying to you know, make some money off
Yeah.
whatever assets they have and stuff, like making smaller project testing stuff out, right?
Yeah.
And I prefer that way because like the obvious route would be a bigger game called Elden Ring 2, right?
Yeah.
And they did not do that, which makes me very like excited about how they're like thinking about this stuff, because maybe they could, maybe they are planning on doing something like Elden Ring 2, right? But maybe they'll make like a Dark Souls style game before that, like
Hmm.
like maybe they'll hand it off to another director or something and have a smaller team do it. It's still cool, right? They can still do stuff like that, so I really appreciate that they're going that route, and I think that director is a smart man, I guess.
Yeah.
A very smart man.
Yeah, I think like culturally, I guess if we're gonna be a bit pretentious, I feel like that's very important because FromSoft is like the only AAA studio that actually produces playable games nowadays.
Yeah, I
And
don't
so
think
like,
that's exaggerating even.
yeah.
Is there? And I mean, maybe there's some other stuff.
Maybe we missed one, but like,
Yeah,
yeah, most of them are literal garbage that you throw in the bin.
yeah,
And like, obviously we've criticized Elden Ring a bit today, but like, it's still an absolute masterpiece compared to like Ubisoft or whatever. And so like, I feel like it's very good that they're sort of diversifying, I guess, or like doing all these small side projects because,
yeah.
as you said,
Exactly.
like they learn how to make
Yeah,
good
it's
games
a bit
and
worrying what the side projects are, but I guess
yeah.
that's
Hmm.
might be a good thing because maybe that's like they'll realize. But I don't know.
Hmm.
Like the
Yeah, like how did Night Rain do like
I
financially?
probably
Did it do
did
well?
well financially, but I
Yeah,
don't know.
I haven't looked
Popularity
it up.
wise, I think people got a bit, trust lost
Hmm.
from that
Hmm.
or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Uh, there's also a lot of like, maybe I'm super silly with this stuff, but like looking at the animations of stuff, it's like, in Dark Souls, you open the chest or whatever, and
Hmm.
I get that maybe that's a bit silly for a multiplayer game, but when you look at Night Rain and your character goes up to a chest and it like explodes up and there's like blue and yellow stuff coming out of it and there's this like
Yeah,
pop-up thing
that's
that looks exactly like Apex
hmm.
Legends.
Hmm.
I'm like, this game is like that. It's such a minor thing, but it worries me when I see stuff like that.
Yeah.
And also they are definitely like, even though they're very talented developers, they're definitely falling for the like modernism stuff you were talking, the
Hmm.
modern like yeah, yeah, no,
Reactability
well,
or
like Demon
stuff.
Souls is the most clunky game with the least amount of mechanics. Then Dark Souls you can jump, and then Bloodborne you can dash, and then they all increase the speed more and more, and then in Elden Ring the jump is like really good, and you can like crouch and move around. Like the
Yeah.
your attacks use less stamina. You recover from your attacks faster, right? All of it is moving to faster and faster and faster combat. I think that's
Yeah.
kind of boring as well because I don't know. I like the slow combat.
I mean, if you haven't already, check out our video on deep
Ooh,
games. They're clunky.
yeah. I mean,
A
it
bit
could be
of
clunky even if it's fast, I guess, but probably
yeah,
not.
true. But I assume what you're saying is that they're less clunky than Demons Souls.
Yeah,
Or they're moving in the direction of less and less clunky for every game
yeah.
that's
Whatever clunky means,
released.
I guess,
Yeah.
because it sounds like a bad thing, which is not necessarily right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, yeah. So like, I guess what are the issues with this big world? I guess we go back to that. Well, it's like, why can't I just play it again? Well, it's like all of this stuff. You like, let's say you want to play Dark Souls. It's like, okay, I'm gonna play with this weapon. Okay, I'm gonna play with this weapon. It's like you just walk in, right? You just play. But if you're playing Elden Ring, it's like, okay, you need to find all this. Like they're spread out so much. Like the world is, I don't know. It's way too big. Way too big. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a downgrade from Dark Souls.
Yeah. But the other stuff is like, I mean, the world or whatever is interesting. I definitely prefer it over like Dark Souls 3, for example. Dark Souls 3 is very boring. Like lore in quotation marks wise or whatever. You know what I mean, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
There's actually one
on.
question I have about like the open world stuff. Going back to that, does it have quest marker syndrome?
It does not, but there are a tiny amount of quest markers at some points. It has a little bit of quest marker syndrome where it's like there's a dungeon here or whatever, right? But it does not do so. Like the thing I mentioned earlier with the like temple in the forest or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that was not a quest marker. It was literally I was walking into that right area, and then there was that thing, and you could go underground or whatever, right? So they're not. There's not quests in that sense, right? But they do have sort of this. They have definitely adapted a bit of the, which is not nice, right? The like big company style structure. Oh, how should I say this? I think you know what I mean, but I need to make it sound more like clear. Where it's like, you know, you because the team is huge, they like decide like, okay, we're gonna have a dungeon here, and then like they put the marker on the map, and then the team designs that dungeon, right? Okay. And then you have like 50 dungeons, right? And then they share stuff between them or whatever, right? And everything becomes bland and boring in that part of the game.
Yeah.
So that's like the typical Ubisoft stuff, which they do a bit. And I mean, generally, a lot of those like side bosses are just a waste of time. So I don't know. But again, I understand why people like Elden Ring. I just, in my mind, you would then realize that and play the older games and see, oh look, these are even better, right? And then you would be disappointed in Elden Ring.
Maybe all Elden Ring players should do like a reverse chronological playthrough of all the Souls games. So they start with Elden Ring, then go Sekiro, then Dark Souls 3, then 2, then 1, then Demon Souls, and it gets better with every game.
Yeah. Well, like, I don't know if that's completely true, because like in a way, like, I mean, we're complaining about Elden Ring, but in a way, I can I say this? I don't want, like, it's too long, right? But Elden Ring is in a way more interesting than Dark Souls 3. Oh, because Dark Souls 3 is just, it's, I don't know. Maybe they didn't even want to make it, like, that's the sort of feeling I get. That sounds very, like, it was sort of like, it feels like the publisher was like, oh, make a sequel, we want money. And they were like, okay, one more time you get a sequel, then we want to do something else. And they made another sequel, and it's like super, there's nothing, it's just what's the word, like fan service stuff. A lot of fan service stuff. It's like,
Oh,
oh,
okay.
this area from this thing. Oh, this boss with this, and this thing from there, and everything is. I don't know. Not interested. I don't like that game. But then again, it's kind of good, anyways. It's like weird because if you literally didn't have any other Souls game, Dark Souls 3 is actually really good. Like really,
Mhm.
really good. If that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. That makes
But
sense.
but since you have Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2 and Bloodborne and Demon Souls and now Elden Ring, it's very like there is no reason to play 3, right? Except for
Mhm.
playing through it once, I guess, to get to see the new content.
Yeah.
And I played it quite a few times actually, so yeah. Yep.
Well, is it time?
Yeah, maybe unless you have some more questions.
Yeah, no, I think maybe I should play Elden Ring. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe you should play some of the other games as
Well,
well.
yeah, I should. Maybe start with Demon Souls.
You should.
Yeah.
Just get, yeah.
That's the like big takeaway from today's episode. Start with Demon Souls, guys.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. Like, I actually want to point one thing out, which is
mhm.
interesting, which is that Dark Souls 3 is probably the second most popular one, right? So they have
Okay.
grown
Mhm.
over time. You can tell that. So it's like the latest one is the most popular, right?
Yeah, you mean Elden Ring?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And before
Yeah.
that, so Dark Souls 3 is the second most popular, right? Then Bloodborne
Yeah.
is a bit different because Bloodborne was only on PS4, but then you have like so maybe, then it's like back to Dark Souls or whatever. I think
Mhm.
Bloodborne still is pretty popular, but you know you lose a lot by not being on PC basically.
Mhm.
Popularity.
Yeah,
wise.
it's actually like kind of interesting. I know I said that was it for today, but like I
Yeah, go ahead.
started thinking about this. It's like because Dark Souls, like the Souls games, were popular, right? And Sekiro was popular too.
Mm-hmm.
But like Elden Ring is like actually mainstream popular, which is very interesting
Yeah, yeah,
because of what kind of game it is. Because like I had friends who like never played video games who played Elden Ring,
yeah,
which is like really really weird because it's like actually kind of a hardcore game, you know. And like the only other game I can think of that even comes close in like that is in the style of that game and has like has that kind of mass appeal is Hollow Knight.
yeah.
But I'm not even sure that Hollow Knight is more popular. I don't think it is.
No, I don't think so. But I
I
could
think
be
Elden
wrong.
Ring is more popular. But yeah, I could be
Maybe
wrong. But I
these days,
think.
I don't know.
Hmm.
Like
Well, yeah,
it's
true, true.
popular in other places as well, so I don't want to say for sure, but yeah,
Yeah,
definitely in like Western mainstream
true. Yes.
stuff for sure.
Yeah. So I think that's very interesting. Like,
I don't even think it's just interesting. I think it's very telling about like the stuff we're talking about.
hmm
That all these designers are like, no, you're idiots. Everything is perfect. Look how perfect everything is. And then you see
yeah,
these games coming out, and they're actually people are like, holy crap, these games are
yeah.
interesting. And they're not even like going that far in that direction, right?
hmm
Like people want
Yeah,
good
it's like
games. It's very clear.
somehow like my friends who only play FIFA or whatever are super hyped about Elden Ring and
Yeah.
talk about it all the time. But like no other AAA studio like
No.
managed to reach out to them in any
Yeah.
ways at all. It's very interesting. So yeah, it's very much a sign that well, I guess the people are crying out for gameplay or whatever, and they aren't getting it until FromSoft releases something.
Yeah.
Um, which I think is good that they do. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
perhaps now we have said all we need to say.
Think so.
Yeah, so thanks for listening, everybody, or watching if you're watching. As usual, leave a comment if you have anything interesting to say or if you disagree with us
Tell
or
us which
whatever.
is your
And
favorite Souls game.
yes, and also don't forget to leave a like or a dislike and subscribe. But other than that, yeah, thanks for watching. Goodbye.
Bye bye everyone.